This documentary is intended to give potential pilgrims an idea about what awaits them on the Camino and will highlight some of the trials and tribulations involved in attempting this adventure. We have been filming and documenting the Camino for over 17 years, and we have also produced a 13-part series which gives an in-depth guide to every part of the Camino. The A to Z documentary is also intended to help people answer that difficult question when pilgrims return home, when they're asked, well, what was the Camino all about? Estella was founded in 1090 and soon became an important town in the Camino, with a great influx of merchants who helped supply the pilgrims on their way to Santiago. This brought wealth to the town and resulted in a great deal of impressive Romanesque architecture, which still survives to this day. You can spend many hours strolling around this historic town, sampling the small bars and restaurants and marvelling at the beautiful monuments, bridges and buildings. This 12th century Romanesque church at Enate is a hermitage dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Visiting the church involves a slight detour, but is well worth the extra 4 kilometres walk. The church has an octagonal design that suggests it originated with the Knights Templar. You will see another example of this design in Torres del Rio, another 55 kilometres further on in the Camino. At Enate, it has been suggested that there are many medieval graves in the grounds of this church, and that these are of pilgrims that died on their journey. It is very important that you take care of your feet, as it is likely that they will not have encountered such a battering as they will take walking miles and miles day after day. Your boots must be worn in for some time before you attempt the Camino, and wearing 2 or 3 pairs of socks will help to prevent blisters. It is also to protect your feet that pilgrims do not shower in the morning before walking, as that would make their feet too soft and lead to problems.
I would suggest to anybody to buy some decent boots. Decent boots is important. Look after your feet, because on the way we have seen probably 30 or 40 pairs of walking boots being chucked away because they're just cheap and nasty. So I would recommend somebody to buy some decent walking boots and socks, and look after your feet, and keep them dry, and the walk will look after you.
If you are walking the Camino during the summer, it is very likely that you will encounter a fiesta in one of the towns and villages you pass through in northern Spain. The upside is the wonderful atmosphere, the music, the costumes and the excitement. The downside might be that the accommodation is scarce and the crowds mean an end to your peaceful solitude. Many pilgrims find that after they reach Santiago, they want to keep walking, and so they take the extra 2 or 3 days walking to go on to Finisterre, which historically is known as the end of the earth. Traditionally, pilgrims would symbolically burn some of their possessions on the cliffs near the lighthouse to signify a rebirth, as they have completed a life-changing experience by walking the Camino. Many pilgrims also attend an ancient Celtic Galician ceremony called a Quiameda, held in the evenings in an old bar in the centre of town. Finishing the Camino is a very moving occasion, and when you reach the square outside the cathedral, you find yourself on a roller coaster of emotion. There is that feeling of elation having finally reached your goal, but there's also a weird sense of emptiness, as in, what's next? You will certainly find that at this time you will need some quiet contemplation as you try to rationalise the competing feelings of satisfaction and emptiness.
First couple of days, there was a couple of moments and I was thinking, Christ, what have I signed up for here? What the hell am I doing? No, once you get used to it, perhaps day 4 or 5 onwards, you start to get a bit fitter and tougher and stuff. And then, after that, you can kind of concentrate on enjoying it rather than just walking, which is a bit of a chore at first because it can be very difficult.
Fromista is a small town with a population of less than 1,000, but it is a popular overnight stopping place in the Camino. There are 2 churches, one in the outskirts, the Church of Santa Maria del Castillo, which is no longer used, and the Church of San Martin, whose construction began in the 11th century. It is a great example of Romanesque architecture. The Camino approaching Fromista follows the path of the Castile Canal, an example of outstanding engineering work from the Enlightenment period, which you then have to cross using the lock gate on the outskirts of Fromista. Galicia has a slower pace of life than the rest of Spain. It is a rural economy, with farming being one of the most important activities. It is also a very friendly region with its own language and distinctive culture. The scenery is fantastic, and most of the Camino through Galicia is easy-going country lanes, and for many pilgrims who start the Camino in Sarria and are just walking the last 110 kilometres, all of their journey is through Galicia. Every day on the Camino, you should be getting a new stamp in your credential. These stamps are available in bars, shops, hostels, albergues and churches all along the Camino. If it is just the last 100 kilometres you are walking, then you are required to get 2 stamps every day. Many pilgrims find that their credentials get full, but you can always add pages or even obtain a second credential along the way. Surprisingly, it is often the stamp credential that provides a better souvenir of the Camino than the Compostela, which certifies your completion.
Getting up early in the morning isn't a problem for us if we're staying in an albergue. The albergues are, the hostels for the pilgrims, and you'll find that some people will get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you'll need your earplugs for that, because if you're an easy person to wake up, it will disturb you. But then people start rising about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and by that point,
we're
getting ready.
Get up at 5 if we say that.
Yeah.
Gone by 6.
But we soon realised it took us probably 5-6 days to realise this is a really good time to walk, because it's cooler, and you're walking in this heat in the afternoon. You do suffer with it if you're not used to it.
When you walk through Pamplona, not only are you walking in the footsteps of pilgrims, you're also walking in the footsteps of Hemingway. His novel, The Sun Also Rises, made this city and its fiesta a world-famous event.
So I came over here last year, and I really didn't know what to expect. I was there at the Chupinazo, and they set off the rocket right below the balcony where the mayor is there, and I'd never seen anything like that in my life. Plus just the number. This place changes from night to day. At 12 o'clock on the 6th of July, you've got this town of 200,000 people or something, which swells up to about 1,200,000. It's just unbelievable. Party time 24/7. And I understood then, what the attraction was for my grandfather, because you have this almost pagan atmosphere of carnival, just joy, people having a good time. At the same time, you had, corrida, bullfighting. It was made to order for the man, because that's what he was looking for.
Eyes are when you realize that it's not about the journey at all. It's about the people that you meet while you're walking.
What I find the hardest, it's hard when it's sort of raining, it's kind of cold, you're kind of hungry, you're sort of 15 kilometers away from the next bar or from the next albergue, and so well, that's kind of a tough part, but that's part of the Camino. Yeah, and without that, I would be disappointed. So yeah, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of I think you go through a lot of physical and through a lot of emotional pain, but that's sort of what this Camino is all about.
It's been wonderful. It's been trying. I have had blisters, sore knees, lost toenails, all of the above, but it's been worth every minute of it.
That day on the Camino was when I had probably my biggest blisters and trying to carry on even though it really hurt at times. So they were bad times.
As well as the walkers and cyclists, you do have the occasional pilgrim on horseback. If you prefer to rest your feet for a while, there are stages in the Camino where you can hire horses. For example, the 8 kilometers from Las Herias to O Sobrero. It is the solitude and the opportunity to be alone with only your thoughts and the power of nature that helps pilgrims to attain this state of mind.
I'm doing the Camino probably for reasons I don't know yet, and also I came just wanting some silence and wanting to kind of think about life and think about decisions that I have and where I want my life to go, where God fits into that, where I am not bombarded by so many things day to day. I'm just walking and listening and meeting new people and having new experiences. So to just have the time away is important for me.
Just outside of Estella, you have the Aranci Monastery. However, what it is most famous for is the wine fountain at the back of the monastery, where pilgrims can refresh themselves with free wine supplied by Aranci Wines. The route of the Camino comes right past the wine fountain, so it would be churlish not to at least sample the wine. This is one of the most famous landmarks on the Camino. Traditionally, it is here that people lay a stone they have carried with them from their home or from somewhere special. There are several theories as to the origins of the cross. It may have been erected to mark the road when it snows. Other historians have suggested that the cross originates from Roman times, with the cross marking the border between territories. Others believe it is just a pile of stones called Montes de Mercurio, erected since Celtic times to mark strategic locations on the road, and then Christianized with crosses. The first cross is believed to have been placed here in the 11th century by the abbot of Foncebadon. In 1982, a chapel dedicated to St. James was built by the cross. The Camino is a pilgrimage to the shrine of St. James in Santiago. James and his brother John were fishermen, the sons of Zebedee, and were called by Jesus from mending their nets beside the Sea of Galilee at the beginning of his ministry. The Gospel lists of the 12 apostles all include James and John among the first 4, and Jesus nicknamed them the Sons of Thunder. James suffered martyrdom at the hands of Herod Agrippa. Legend has it that when the apostles divided the known world into missionary zones, the Iberian Peninsula fell to James. Saint-Jean is the most popular starting point for pilgrims undertaking the 800-kilometre Camino. Numerically, more pilgrims start at Sarria, but that is just for those walking the last 100 kilometres. Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port is a bustling market town at the foot of the Pyrenees. It contains many hotels, hostels, restaurants and bars that cater for the pilgrim trade. It is at Saint-Jean that you can visit the pilgrim's office and pick up your credential, and also receive advice about the first stage, which can be very arduous and dangerous at certain times of the year. Saint-Jean is a picturesque vast town with narrow cobbled streets and many historic buildings, many of whom retain distinctive features, including inscriptions over their doors. One of them, a bakery, lists the prices of wheat in 1789. Most pilgrims catch the train or the bus from Bayonne to Saint-Jean and then stay the night before setting off early in the morning the next day. Some of the biggest problems pilgrims have from a medical point of view are caused by a lack of drinking water. It's very important to keep yourself hydrated when you are walking and after you've finished walking for the day. To avoid such problems as tendinitis, after you have finished your walk, always drink at least 1.5 litres of water before you start doing anything else. It is very easy at times to stray off the Camino, and the easiest mistake to make is just blindly following other pilgrims, assuming that they are paying attention. The route is very well signposted with yellow arrows, scallop shells and other pilgrim signs, which all keep you walking in the right direction. Plus, if you do stray off the course, someone will soon appear and indicate that you're walking the wrong way and point out where you should be going. Lyon is the third favourite starting point after Sarria and Saint-Jean for those walking the Camino Frances. It is a large modern city, but it has some great historic buildings and monuments. Lyon was originally a Roman settlement and fort, and during the 14th century, Lyon found that some of its importance was lost as Andalusia became Christian and the royal courts moved south. It has always been an important staging post in the Camino, and its historic centre has many interesting bars, restaurants and hostels for pilgrims. Many people say that walking the Camino is a life-changing experience. It certainly helps people come to terms with many of the questions they have before setting out on a journey.
I think I changed. I think that I had learned how to listen to myself better and how to listen to my body and how to listen to my needs and to take time and be more patient and more trusting. I think the Camino requires you to trust that there will be a bed in the next town, trust that there will be a person to help you when you're feeling exhausted, or somebody will come by with water when you have accidentally run out yourself.
Logroño is a small, nice city with much medieval architecture and is quite a popular stopping point in the Camino. There are some interesting sites to visit, one of which is an old pilgrim's fountain, and nearby on the San Pablo Square is laid out a copy of the game of Oca, which represents the different stages of the Camino. Los Arcos was founded in Roman times and has always flourished as a stopping point in the Camino. It is an interesting walled town with many historic buildings. One of the most notable of these is the Church of San Maria, which has a mixture of architectural styles from the 12th to the 18th century, including Romanesque, Gothic and Baroque. The bell tower is Renaissance and was completed in 1590. It was designed to give an impression of extra height by each of the 4 stories being slightly smaller than the previous. Los Arcos was retaken from the Moors in 914 by Sancho Garcia, but due to its location on the frontier of Castile and Aragon, Los Arcos was frequently a military target, and by the 12th century it was protected by a castle, which is now in ruins.